From an LSU standpoint, leaving spring, some of the question marks that you may have going into fall camp in the offseason, what do they exist around?
I'd like to see how the O-line comes together. I guess I got a little confidence coming out of the back end that they at least have maybe a first 5 or at least 6, 7 guys figured out. It seemed like Will Campbell sort of unlocked something for them to where they were able to put all the pieces in. I mean, I think quarterback's going to be big. I think quarterback O-line or 2 I'm probably watching more than anyone. Does Butte get back to full health? I guess the expectation would be yes, of course. But I'd like to see, him out there in fall camp really moving around. I think he's a key piece. Even when you've got all that receiver talent, he's just a step above. Man, look, I'll just go. My number one thing is press and pause and understanding the reality that you've got a new head coach, a new strength staff, 2 new coordinators, 9 of 10 new on-field coaches. You took more transfers than anyone in college football. You essentially pressed pause, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but you got 30% into installs on, let's say, offense is what they talked about in spring and said, let's stop and let's work on perfecting our craft at this 30%. To expect that then you're just going to be out there operating at 100% and everything's going to go well for you in the season would be a bit much. So I think a lot of LSU fans right now are like, we got our swagger back. Like 10-win team, no doubt, and if not, Brian Kelly needs to be fired. Like this, but I mean, come on. I don't know. Do y'all sense that? I think that's out there. Not Brian Kelly should be fired, but I think LSU fans were in the point of the offseason where you're like, I feel good, coach. I feel good.
Well,
10 wins, and I don't know. I'm not there. And I don't think that's a fair expectation.
If people are comparing it to leaving Houston the night of the Texas Bowl after you lost and got blown out to Kansas State and you were curious about who's going to play for LSU next year. I mean, they didn't have you didn't know who was going to be even on the roster. They had no team, it felt like. And now to where they are now, I think that they deserve a ton of credit of putting together, if nothing else, what feels like a competitive roster, right? Like I believe that they're probably going to win a game or 2 or be in a game or 2 that they shouldn't be in next season because their roster has gotten to a point where it's competitive in the league where you can't overlook them. I mean, I think that their coaching is going to be pretty elite. I think that they'll be prepared. I don't doubt that. I think
the coaching will.
But I also believe that they'll probably be in some games that you're like, how in the hell are they losing this game? Or why are they? Because of what you talked about. They still have stuff that they're trying to get installed. They're still figuring out how the function of the program runs. I mean, I still think that there was a very
they're building the base.
This
spring was about the base layers of the program, right? Yeah. These accountability and installing all. Most of it was probably not even about football.
Yeah,
and I think that's fine and probably the right way to do it. I just think it means year one you pump the brakes a bit. I told you this right before the show started. LSU leads the country in football in transfers taken, more than Ole Miss, more than USC. Not a big shock, right? As you said. They're also tied for the lead in basketball, which they certainly could take the lead at some point in the most. Also not a surprise. But is it that same feeling of there was a day, it wasn't long ago, where it was they don't have anyone on the not like, oh man, they don't have many people on the roster. They didn't have anybody on the roster. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you've knocked down some dominoes and you're like, you know what?
Maybe so.
Maybe so. I feel okay about
New Year 6.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think a lot of that confidence has come from the players when they come in here. They don't expect it to be a down year at all. They're like, we're going to shock the world. Like whatever Brian Kelly's selling, they're buying.
Yeah. And I believe after seeing their defense in person, their front 7 alone, I believe, is going to keep them
no doubt.
Competitive. You're not just going to line up and push LSU around up front. I mean, maybe Alabama can do that third, fourth quarter because they're just deeper and better. But the front 4 for LSU, and even I would say the top 2 reserves, they feel like high-end SEC, NFL-type players.
They'll be really good on the D-line, and I think they'll be good at linebacker as well. I think they've at least got 3 or 4 guys that you can rely on. So, yeah, I do like the front 7 a good bit. Ojulari, I think, is going to have a huge year.
Me too. I think he's
playing
going
that jack
to
spot.
absolutely explode, man. I keep hearing Mekhi Wingo's name.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, he was freshman all SEC, and you went out there, when we were watching him in spring ball. I mean, he gets his first step is elite, and that's probably a big reason why he was playing early at Missouri and why they pushed to get him here. So, and that's a guy that may not start, right? I mean, you've got a dude that was just a freshman all SEC that may not even be starting for you. So, I think they'll have a healthy rotation. I like that front seven a good bit. But yeah, I guess basketball and football feel the same. I was laughing. I don't remember if I told you this or not, but this is like right when Mawani and Justice announced they were coming back, Williams. So that was like the first two kids that were on the basketball team, and I was driving by campus, and I see two athletes there in all their gear, and as I pulled closer, it was them two. And they might have as well been like holding it. They were right, like locked, just walking together like this. I was like, guys, those two are like, don't leave my side.
We're in this together.
Yes,
Where you
we're
going,
in this
bro?
together. Where'd you just go, bro? Just go to the bathroom, bro.
Yeah, right. Torchies, bro. I'm just picking up a taco.
Those two, but hey, shout out those two. They got the dominoes rolling. Adam Miller this Friday.
I know, man.
I don't know where he's going, but big news.
Any lean?
You want to allegedly report anything?
I don't know. I'm not getting involved in the Adam Miller drama. That stuff was everywhere last week.
Oh, man. All right, so